And tonight on the Daily Wrap, President Obama faced a tough interview last night with 60 Minutes. We'll have all the highlights and the lowlights. The Obama administration coming under fire for taking pork away from inmates. A spirited debate is forthcoming. And is he just appeasing Muslims? Another question we'll be asking during said spirited debate. Plus, we'll have the latest on the jailed Washington Post reporter in Iran. This is the Daily Wrap, live from New York City. And welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Joe Concha, joined by my co-host, Nomi. No, Ricky!
She's so much better looking. How could you possibly be confused?
Well, look, Nomi was a suitable replacement, no question about it.
She did very, very well.
Now, I understand while you were out there, you were at Politicon, but you were also there to pitch your next trilogy to the powers that be in Hollywood.
Which is?
Called The Unger Games. Is that true?
The Unger Games. The Unger Games. Yes, it is true. Who told you? Boy, you are a good media reporter. You're on everything.
Yeah, well, I bugged your suitcase.
Oh, that's how you do it.
Yeah, so you had a good time, Politicon?
No, actually, the Politicon worked out great. Over 9,000 people. Wow. For the first year. I think it's going to become an annual event. What was great about it was it brought together people like us from both sides, which really made it interesting and fun.
Absolutely. Comedians, politicians.
Comedians, politicians, right, left. You know, had dinner with my friend, Ann Coulter.
Ann Coulter, right.
We had a great time.
Okay, we're going to have to hear more about that conversation. I'd love to be a fly in that soup. Anyway, to his right, Forbes.com columnist and an Emmy winner, he is Bill Tucker, who did not have dinner with Ann Coulter recently anytime soon.
But we talked about you a great deal. Thanks.
And finally, he's a former FBI special agent, a former Navy SEAL, and currently the president of Continued Services, Jonathan Gilliam, with even more hair than usual.
That's right, and I'm not Rick Unger.
Growing.
You're not Rick Unger or Nomi, that's true. All right, it's getting messy already. Let's get right to the Daily Download. And last night, millions of you probably saw Steve Kroft interviewing the president for 60 Minutes, and one could argue that it was the toughest grilling Mr. Obama has faced during his presidency. On cue, because we all take sides in these situations, Kroft was roundly criticized by many on the left for being too tough and praised by the right for not serving up any softball questions. Most notably, Kroft went after the president about the rise of President Vladimir Putin across the world, and particularly in the Middle East.
You said a year ago that the United States, America leads, we're the indispensable nation. Mr. Putin seems to be challenging that leadership.
In what way? Let's think about this.
Well, he's moved troops into Syria, for one.
Yeah.
He's got people on the ground.
Right.
Two, the Russians are conducting military operations in the Middle East for the first time since World War II. Bombing the people that we are supporting.
So that's leading, Steve?
He's challenging your leadership, Mr. President. He's challenging your leadership.
Steve, I got to tell you, if you think that running your economy into the ground and having to send troops in order to prop up your only ally is leadership, then we've got a different definition of leadership.
That was popcorn ready type of stuff last night. I really enjoyed that interview because for once I saw somebody challenging the president, didn't let him filibuster on something that could arguably be his biggest weakness right now, that's Syria. My question to you is the president showing weakness in Syria by allowing Putin just to walk in, fly his jets, bomb targets, particularly targets of rebels that we trained? Is the president right or wrong in saying that Putin is weaker?
I've got a lot of problems with the president's foreign policy as it pertains to Syria. However, I think we make a mistake when we get into this focus, are you weak, are you strong? The question is, are you getting what you want or aren't you? We're not getting what we want in Syria. And I would argue the primary reason for that is we have never been able to find that strongman. We've been all for taking out their leader, right?
Assad.
Assad, but we have nobody to replace him with. If you have nobody to replace him with, who you would hope is going to be somebody friendly to us, then what are you doing? So where Obama went wrong, in my opinion, he made a big deal out of wanting to push Assad out, but he never identified anybody to step into it. So this was a mistake. Putin has the easy hand in this. He's already an ally of Assad. All he needs to do is go in there and help him stay in office, which, Assad's been very close to actually losing it. That's why Putin's there to help. So he had a much easier role to play. So I think we make a mistake when we get bogged down in this weakness versus strength thing. It's, did we do what we needed to do for ourselves? And we didn't.
Does it matter, Bill, ultimately, if Russia is in Syria and it's a puppet regime? I mean, isn't it already a puppet regime?
Well, you know, one thing, part of me reacts to this like, oh, if Russia wants this, then fine. Russia can have it because the Middle East is the great downfall of a lot of foreign
Welcome
policy.
to the quagmire, right?
Exactly. Welcome to the mess,
quagmire.
okay? And Rick's right. We have not ever identified, this administration has not said this is what we want in the Middle East. So it's been a problem. But I think it's a big problem because Russia stepped in and filled a key role for us, and Syria is no longer his only ally in the Middle East.
Politically, does the president look bad?
I think so. Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
just the appearance of,
does.
we didn't even know that Russia was going in. A general apparently went to our embassy in
Knocked
Iraq
on
and
our door and said, "We're going in."
yeah, in an hour you might want to duck.
But again, I'll throw this in. Yeah, it does make them look bad. There's no question. But at the same time, there's a difference between looking bad and actually winning or losing. So.
Okay. Jonathan?
No, I really do agree with what your first statements there about weakness versus the reality here is, you know, the United States is not a weak country, right? We have the power to go and fight a battle or war with anybody that we choose to. But what we see is a lack of leadership in getting what you want, which is what you stated. And Putin is a creeper. He knows how to creep in to an environment where I don't understand what Obama was saying about him bankrupting his company. He's certainly not doing that by the two battles in Ukraine and Syria.
He creeped into Crimea, didn't he?
That's correct.
Well, yeah,
without firing a shot.
What he was talking about, the Russian economy is an absolute disaster. In fact, most of the estimates say that Putin can only afford to stay in Syria doing what he's doing for 2 to 3 years. They're broke.
Let's hear more from that interview. Croft then asked the president if the U.S. is in retreat in the Middle East.
There is a perception in the Middle East among our adversaries, certainly, and even among some of our allies, that the United States is in retreat.
You're saying they, but you're not citing too many folks.
No, I'll cite for us if you want me to. I'd say the Saudis, I'd say the Israelis, I'd say a lot of our friends in the Middle East. I'd say everybody in the Republican Party. Well, do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, if you're citing the Republican Party, I think it's fair to say that there's nothing I've done right over the last 7.5 years, and I think that's right. And I also think what is true is that these are the same folks who were making an argument for us to go into Iraq.
Croft almost threw him a lifeline there, where he's naming off all these people, and then he gave them Republicans and said, see, I can play victim now, thank God. All that said, have we walked away from the Middle East?
Well, I think we definitely have, and on the way out, we've even caused a little bit more of a ruckus with Assad and Syria. We have never, not once, even the previous administration, have we put people in place that can effectively do what they need to do to govern in an area. Meanwhile, we go around removing dictators who, like them or not, effectively ruled in that area.
Gaddafi, Hussein.
That's right, and you know, for him to say that he does not, you know, that. When he was defending himself, it was against the Republicans, not at all against the other people that he brought up.
We agree on what you just said.
Totally.
That is the problem. Yeah. This is the problem all the way through. We go into Libya, we take them out, but we got nobody who's friendly to us, ready to take over.
Libya made no sense to me.
We did it in the war on drugs.
Giving up my nukes or my pursuit of them.
It would have made sense if we had that strong man on our side.
We did it in the war on drugs. We did the same thing in the war on terror.
All right, that'll be our last word on that. Coming up next, President Obama has banned pork in prisons. This is a true story. And we bring in Steve Malzberg a little bit early from his show to talk to Rick Unger. We allow our other folks here to take a break for a moment. We'll talk to Steve Malzberg about that. Stay here. And in the wake of the recent school shooting in Oregon, President Obama is now threatening to enforce new gun laws through executive power. This is nothing new for our president, who has been, in the eyes of some, illegally exercising his executive power since taking office 7 years ago. With each action, critics say, he is fundamentally transforming the foundation of our great nation. This is precisely what Dick Morris predicted in his best-selling book, Power Grab. Morris's spot-on forecasts have been reconfirmed as Obama racks up one major coup after another in his unrelenting assault on free Americans. And there's more to Mr. Obama's power grab as he rushes to jam through as much as he can get away with in his final months in the Oval Office. Power Grab examines the key targets that the president is likely zeroing in on right now as he charts his final moves. Be sure to get your copy of Dick Morris's best-selling book, Power Grab, by visiting powergrab411.com or by calling 1-800-210-9072. That's 1-800-210-9072. More of the Daily Wrap straight ahead.